introduction. I want to say that although I am now Systems Director of Customer Labs and lecturing at UT, I'm still working on another startup. So once you catch the bug, you never lose the bug. So it's a stealth startup. I can potentially tell you more about it at the end of the presentation if you're interested. I want to just say a couple other things. First of all, if you don't know me, part of sales is pitching yourself. So that's why I have this slide in here. And the important thing to know in this case is I'm going to try to teach you or tell you something about sales and marketing. I want each and every one of you to be successful in sales and marketing. And the first important lesson is you got to pitch yourself first in some form or fashion. So this is my CV in short. Although I have to give a lot of credit to this last line here, super life, kids, dogs, and horses. So that is me. Has anyone heard of the Killer Nick, the network card for gamers? I know you have. All right, well, it's a little funny story about this product. It came about because I was experiencing lag in video games. So who in here are video gamers? Okay, about a third. That's unusual. Usually it's a higher percentage. So the rest of you need to get in the game. Why? Because it's fun. And it's taken over the world. Virtual reality is about to hit us all so hard in the face that you are going to be reeling. Nevertheless, in the video games, there's a thing called lag, where you're trying to aim the gun, you're trying to shoot, or you're trying to swing the bat, but it's frozen. Ball goes by, right? And then your bat swings. That's lag. That's the problem that we were solving with the Killer Network card. We solved it pretty well. Company grew very quickly. We did $10 million in our second year, and then we were acquired by Qualcomm in 2010. So pretty cool stuff. But the question always comes up, and you probably know this picture. If you build it, will they come? So who knows what I'm talking about? What am I talking about?
The baseball field out in the middle of the cornfields and all of the famous old baseball players that were going to come if you built them their castle in the sky.
Thank you for sharing that. That's correct. Who knows what I'm talking about from a business context? Yeah.
Market validation.
In a way, market validation. Yeah.
I guess what I'm doing more like technology commercialization. Start with a product or solution that you want people to buy. Hopefully, you're hoping it's good enough that they'll be enticed just automatically to get it, but that's not really the case.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Basically, a little bit like what you said, building an MVP and just making people. That's basically everything. Starts it off.
Well, it's interesting because all those are true, but I think there's something more important, and that is you've got to think about marketing with the product. Because here's the fact. If you build it, they won't come. They're not coming. Not unless they hear about it. So you've got to build the marketing in. Now, this is a talk on sales and marketing, which is why I'm starting here. Because marketing is not just putting up ads on Google and Facebook and Amazon and whatever. That's not marketing. Marketing is traditionally, who's heard of the 4 Ps? A couple of you have. All right. The reason that's an interesting concept, 4 Ps, product, place, price, promotion. The reason that's usually the way that marketing is taught in the university setting is because it immediately reminds you that promotion is only 1/4 of marketing. And if you don't know that right now, it's a really important lesson. The first and most important lesson, so that's why it's step 1, proactive marketing. It's not just about advertising, promotion, and getting buzz. That's only 1/4 of marketing. Step 1, proactive marketing, means building marketing into the product. Can anybody think of a famous video game that had the most viral marketing built into it of all time? This has to do with farming.
Farmville.
Yeah, Farmville. Who here has heard of Farmville? Almost everyone. Good. Who here has gotten annoyed by their friends? Okay, Facebook has clamped down on this in the last 5 years, but 5 years ago they didn't, and you would get spammed by your friends constantly. Please help me in Farmville. Please, please, please help me, help me, help me. And that to me is one of the coolest, most interesting marketing techniques ever invented, and it had nothing to do with promotion. It was in the product. You had to get a friend to help you get to the next level. You see how that's marketing built in? By definition, anybody that gets there is going to be stopped unless they can get their friend to join in. That's building the marketing into the product. And there are modern ways to do this. And these are the things that when you're in the product concept phase, which many of you are right now, you got to be thinking about this now. How can I not necessarily put roadblocks in, but how can I make it worthwhile to interact with other people? That's a very, very useful technique. That's a social sharing technique. How can I reward people for bringing me customers or for referring me? So that's a term called referral rewards. Does anybody know of any companies that have referral rewards? What is it? Airbnb.
Yeah, like all the ride sharings.
All the ride sharings. Pretty much every company has it, and they built it into the product, and it has nothing to do with promotion, but it has everything to do with the product. Does that make sense? Does anybody have any questions about building that into the product? Let me tell you now the number one secret of all marketing. We're going to get into sales in a little bit, but this is the number one secret to all marketing, and hopefully I can get Dr. Altunian to agree with me on this one. But word of mouth is the number one method of marketing of all time. What is word of mouth? Can anybody describe it? He's nodding his head, by the way. He agreed with me. Thank you. Yeah.
Are you separating that from direct sales?
Yes. Anybody?
Where one guy tells his friend about a cool product. that he
Precisely. Of all time, that is the number one most effective means of marketing. So, would you like to have some word of mouth? What the heck? How do you get that? And the answer is the purple cow. And that's why there's a picture of the purple cow. It's also a book by a very famous author named Seth Godin. If you want to check out the book, it's called The Purple Cow. And what this purple cow signifies is that you have to be remarkable. In order to get word of mouth marketing, in other words, a friend to tell another friend, hey, check this out, you have to be, your product, this is why we're still on product, your product has to be remarkable. So what does remarkable mean? Can anybody define it for me? Somebody?
Worth being talked about?
Worth being talked about. I like that definition. That's right. Worth being remarked upon. So I'll tell you the brief story of the purple cow. Seth Godin was driving down the highway, somewhere Route 66. He saw all these restaurants and shops. Boring, boring, boring. Suddenly, there was a cow painted purple in a pasture in front of an ice cream shop. And he did a double take. I mean, who here has seen a cow painted purple? You might have seen it now, but and 20 years ago when he wrote the book, he slammed on his brakes. What the heck, a purple cow? And he turned over and he went for the ice cream. Okay, very simple example, but then word spread, right? He talked about this purple cow. Now this ice cream shop is like the number one ice cream shop in wherever Utah this thing was. So, remarkable in your product. Who thinks they have a remarkable product? What is it?
It's a medical device to disinfect wounds.
What's remarkable about it?
Hasn't been used like this before. The technology.
Okay. What do you think?
You can make your robots feel easier.
You can make your what?
Robots feel easier.
Your robots.
So instead of having to just build a robot and then build something like a skin, you don't have to. It's just in the robot already.
Okay. Anybody else have a remarkable product? Yeah.
A new robot that's really easy to integrate into airplane assembly lines.
Okay. So, interesting that these were the examples because you guys have heard the term B2B and B2C. And we often think of B2C when we think remarkable, as in something a consumer will want and therefore consumers are talking. But people forget that B2B, people talk too. In fact, there's a higher chance, if you're targeting aerospace engineer, there's a very high chance, almost infinitely high, that he knows at least 10 other aerospace engineers. And whom will he remark upon to this magical robot? Of course, most of the room doesn't care. But to that aerospace engineer, this robot can build airplanes 10 times faster. By the way, that's the remarkable part.
Oh yeah.
That's what he's going to remark on to his aerospace engineer friends, which happen to be your next customers. That's what we're talking about. to the medical device, it's probably more consumer, am I right?
Hospital.
It's hospital
Yeah.
application. So you need to find what's remarkable in the B2B context to the hospital administrator who's buying it, that they're going to talk to their friend who's 99% likelihood has friends who are other hospital administrators to make remarks to them. And that's the chain that you want to happen. Does that make sense to everybody? I don't know if you're targeting B2B or B2C. You have to think that out. But if it's B2C, honestly, that's a little bit more my bailiwick. I'm more of a B2C guy. But B2B, it's still the same concept. It's just a smaller pool. But the good thing is these networks self-organize, and they already know people who are going to be doing that same thing. Okay, I'm going to go a little faster because we've got a lot of material. But does anyone know spam? Who has tried spam? Okay, now leave your hand up if you like it. Oh, great, a few of you. And leave your hand up if you're German.
Says the Navy girl.
I thought so. I was in Germany and I was like, what is this stuff? And they put it in a fancy gourmet bread and like, it was this fancy sandwich and I found out later it was a form of canned meat. And I'm like, which spam is just canned meat if you don't know. And I'm like, oh wow. So they fry it and everything else. It's really special. Did not taste special to me. I did not particularly like it. I forgot exactly why I put that picture in. No, I'm just kidding. The reason that picture is in there is because no product is for everyone. And this is a really important message about marketing. Because as we started talking about with B2B, you're targeting specifically aerospace engineers. You're targeting specifically hospital administrators, right? So that's who your target market is. And honestly, I don't give two donkeys, I'm going to keep this PG, about a medical device for whatever you just said. Nor do I care two donkeys for a thing that builds airplanes, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. And neither should I. Nor do I care about spam, which is why I put the spam picture in there. Because I don't like it. I don't know anything about it. It's not my thing. However, those of you who raised your hands and kept them up, or if you're from Germany, you love it. And there's a market for you, and that's your target market. So second key step is begin with the customer in mind, the specific customer in mind. So if you don't know if you're B2B or B2C, you got a problem. You got a problem you got to solve today. Take a gamble, take a guess, go one direction or another. You need to know who your customer is, or you're not going to get anywhere. Right? To that, who is the customer of the ice cream company that put the purple cow in front? Who is the customer?
Passerbys.
Exactly. Drivers in their car going by on Route 66. That's their target market, who might want some ice cream, but probably wouldn't even notice the ice cream thing if the purple cow weren't in front. Target market. We're going to send these slides around afterwards. Okay, you guys can read the slides later. I'm just going to keep telling stories. So, this is another funny picture because it demonstrates what marketing was like before we had analytics. So, who has seen Mad Men? Knows something about it. Okay, most of you, great. By the way, I like to pull the audience because it's fun. But anyway, Mad Men is a very sexist show because the 60s and 50s and the times when that was built was a very sexist environment, especially in advertising. Mad Men is about a group that does advertising. What kind of ads do they make? Which kind? Sick tobacco, but for what platform? For TV? For print? Right? Primarily for TV and print. If you haven't seen the show, they primarily make TV ads and ads for magazines. That's kind of their focus. That, even today, is still doing this. Because how do you know if your magazine ad is going to work? How do they know on Mad Men? Does anybody watch the show close enough? What do? They bring in some people. They do focus groups, right? And they test them out against a small group to see how people will react to the ad. That's about as good as you can get. That's analytics before analytics. Nowadays, can we do better? I think we can. Step 3, doing more important marketing first and often and find what works. So how do we know if the ad actually delivered in sales beyond the focus group today? Let's say it's a magazine ad. How would we know? You don't know. Very hard. So I'll tell you what I did and what you can steal. I created a vanity URL. Who knows what that is? Special URL for one-time use, throw it away, right? So I used, it was called endlagnow.org. It's now defunct. We put it in a magazine. We said, do you want to end lag? You need the killer Nick. Go to endlagnow.org. And we only put it in that one ad. How much did that cost us? $14 to register the domain name. And what did we get from it?
Data.
Analytics. What everybody that went to that site, we know how they got there from the print ad. And we know that that $5,000 ad generated X dollars in traffic and Y dollars in business. So today, modern times, there's no reason you shouldn't apply analytics to everything you do. Otherwise, you don't know if your money is worth spending. Who's heard of trade shows? Everyone, hopefully. You don't have to raise your hand. I don't know why I asked the question. Stupid. Okay. So imagine you're going to an aerospace trade show and you spent $5,000 to be there. Was it worth it? What do you think?
It's really hard to know.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
Is it
It's
worth
hard to know
knowing?
the value of that.
How much would it be worth you to know?
If you make sales on the spot.
That would be one. Sales on the spot. I like that. But would it be worthwhile to know?
Sorry, excuse me.
Is it worth your time or money to find out if the trade show was worth it?
Definitely.
How much?
Like maybe a certain percentage of the.
Every bit of sales that you get, that you can track back to it, that's how much it's worth. Potentially, the lower boundary is $5,000 that you didn't spend. But probably there's an upper boundary that's into the millions of dollars. Because if you found out that that one sale that you got 3 months later was as a result of that trade show you did 3 months earlier, which is how it typically goes, by the way, it's not usually on the spot, then you've just learned that that trade show was worth millions of dollars. For a $5,000 investment, you got $1 million return. You've got to track that. So how do you do it?
Spreadsheet.
Yeah, spreadsheet works. Analytics works. You just got to do it. It's really not that hard. You got to sit down when you get the business card and type it in. Sometimes people use something called Salesforce, by the way, because we're going to get into a little bit of sales in a little bit. You type it in. You say this lead came from this trade show. Then 3 months later, you can go way back to the start of that relationship and say, oh, I met that person at the trade show. Yeah.
I just say for my business, trade shows were the most effective and efficient way to market. If you ran an ad in a vertical publication, a small percentage were my target customers. But if I went to a trade show, most of those trade show attendees were my target customers, but represented a small percentage of the available market. So we did exactly what he said. Our issue wasn't were these valuable customers. It was, did this trade show generate as much revenue as the next trade show? Because we ran about 40 to 50 trade shows a year because it was such a direct pipe of customers.
Trade shows are
The
great.
more vertical you are, the more appropriate it is to have the people there that do the work.
And I'm going to tell you about how to do a trade show guerrilla style in a few minutes, because there is another way to do it that doesn't cost you any money. But you might get thrown out. Just got to be ready for that. It's happened to me a few times. I will decline to say how many times I've been arrested. How much would you pay for this car? How much would you pay?
$300.
$300. Zero.
Was it owned by Elvis?
No.
$0.
I think
That was the
zero.
car he was arrested for.
Why doesn't anybody want this car? What's up with this car? What's special about it? It blows up on impact. It explodes on impact. So I think price matters. That's the point of the picture. And you need to offer win-win value. And I don't think there's any price that you would pay for a car that blows up, personally. I wouldn't. I would pay to not have to drive that car. But pricing is that important. Because when that car was introduced, it was $5,000. And that was in 1972 or something like that. I might have the exact year. $5,000 brand new.
That's a pretty hot car.
That's pretty expensive for 1970s. And meanwhile, it blows up. So this is the idea. You need to offer a price that leaves some value in it for the person that's buying the thing. How much time do I have? Just checking.
Yeah, for 2 hours.
Till 12:30.
Till 2, but you can stop it.
Oh, okay, great. I got plenty. So how much? So I asked the question, but I'm going to draw it on the whiteboard. So that means markers here. All right. So $5,000. That's the price, right? What's the value for the customer? 0. So the price is probably too high for the value, right? This is the price, this is the value. See how the price is above the value? I know you're laughing. That's the intent. It is a little silly. Okay? So you might want to close that gap a little bit, and you might need to pay me in this case. But let's switch it around a little bit and do a different product, because obviously no one's going to pay negative dollars for a Pinto. That works with that. Actually, you can still buy them. They modify the tanks to blow up less often. Okay. Let's say that your product, let's take, because I know Will Wilder, I'm going to use his example a little bit more. Let's take his example of the robot that builds airplanes faster. How much faster? 10 times faster. Okay. Let's pretend that creates a cost savings, because that's one way to think about value. A cost savings of around $10,000, just because we're using the number. I know it's higher than that. We don't. $10,000 in cost savings, right? To build airplanes faster. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. So what should the price, this is the value, what should the price be for his robot that builds airplanes 10 times faster? Less than $10,000. Well, let's say $10,000. What if the price were $10,000? Who's going to buy it?
Well, does it save $10,000 like every time it's used?
Let's just say the total value, all the uses until the robot dies is $10,000.
No one's gonna buy it
No one's going to buy it. Why?
because it just maintains the status quo.
Exactly. It maintains the status quo. It's as though you spent $10,000, you got $10,000 back, you got nothing for it. So it's kind of useless. The exception would be if it gave you some kind of advantage, maybe, because you could build stuff faster. But you have to put that into the value calculation. Does that make sense to everybody? So the first important thing about pricing is you have to do this value calculation. How much value are you offering to the customer? By the way, pricing, one of the 4 P's of marketing. That's why we're covering it, but briefly. So you have to figure out the value of what you're offering. Then you have to charge a price that's lower than the value and hopefully higher than your cost. Right? Somewhere in this zone of cost of 5,000, value of 10,000 is the price. Now it just becomes how greedy are you? Or how good of a negotiator are you? If you're really greedy, you'll charge 9,000. And if you're very generous or trying to capture market share, you might charge 5,500, which is a 10% markup. By the way, markup by percentage is a horrible way to price because it completely ignores the value. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Is there any way that you've calculated customer value in the past?
Well, one of them we just talked about, which is cost savings. The other one is pain avoidance. How much pain are you avoiding if you buy this product? Let's use medical technology. You're not with Mednox, are you? Okay. So there's a medical technology that actually has a Band-Aid you can buy to put on your leg that speeds your healing through oxidation. It's Mednoxa. And that Band-Aid speeds your healing by about 3 weeks. So instead of 4 weeks to heal a bad wound, it's only 1 week, right? And that's 3 weeks of pain that you're avoiding, which is pretty awesome. That pain avoidance is what you do a mathematical calculation on. And you can do it by survey or conversation with customers. It's a great way to do it. How much would you pay to get out of bed 3 weeks earlier? Oh, you pay $10,000? Okay, that's a value. And do an average. Average is about $1,000. Okay, I have a value now. Is that my price? No, my price has to be lower than the value. That make sense? There are many more techniques, and the slide can talk about more of them. But we have limited time, so let's push on. This is my favorite slide because I'm a huge Mario fan, and I stole this from the internet without attribution. So, my And there's the attribution right there. User on board. So, what is this slide showing? It's showing a video game from the late 80s, early 90s called Super Mario Brothers. Who's heard of it? This is a real question. Okay. Okay, it's really important to me to know that. This is the concept. This is the person who's a potential customer, right? This is your product. It's a flower. Now, who knows when Mario eats a flower, what happens?
It's huge. It's flames.
Something cool music happens, and you can shoot flames. In fact, that's what you're selling. You're selling the awesome person who can do rad shit. Sorry, I thought I was going to make it PG. It's already. I guess it's PG for TV these days. They can say that now. I don't know. Anyway, they can shoot fireballs. Now, who here would like to shoot fireballs? I just want to know. Yes, I would too. In fact, I've envisioned a VR game where you can do just that. Because VR is coming. It's going to hit you. You're going to put on goggles. I'm going to shoot fireballs at you. You're going to shoot them back at me in this room in real time. Who wants to play that game? Heck yeah, that's going to be awesome. It's coming. It's around the corner.
There's one in Ohio or in Utah, I think. It's like an arena, and it's like laser tag with VR.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, all this stuff is happening. Meanwhile, what you're selling is this. Now, bringing it back to the context of this conversation. You're not selling your product. This is not a video game. This is getting to throw fireballs at people. Yes, you understand what I'm saying? This is not aerospace engineer, okay, plus your product, super fast robot. You're not selling a super fast robot. You're selling really awesome airplanes that are way cheaper than ever before, where everyone can own one. Get it? That's what you're selling. That's the whole point of this thing, what we're talking about. And what it means is understanding customer needs. By the way, words, you can read them later. But in general, you've got to know that the customer wants to be this person, and that's what you sell. That's what you position you.
I think probably one of the easier examples to see for this is the way cars are marketed.
Sure.
They don't market the transport or the features, except for super geeky people. Look at that. They message and market the experience and
That's
who
right.
you want to be. You know, so you can buy a Kia and feel like you're a Mercedes guy. I mean, they actually market it to give you that. So I think that's really what you're conveying.
That's right. That's right. Exactly right. That's a great example. Cars are perfect, right? It's me driving in the highway in a Lamborghini. That's what it is.
Thinking you're Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, it's the Matthew McConaughey. I'm out on a crazy night on the town.
Charlie Sheen in the theater.
Yes, exactly.
I do that with my wife in the car now. She like freaks out when I start talking. I don't like Matthew McConaughey.
It's cold.
Yeah.
It's
It's like
cool.
doing the C test.
Yeah. Okay, does everybody get this concept? Because this is sort of fundamental to marketing. And just to put one final thought on it, you're selling the benefits of the product, not the features. So to put the technical spin on it, whenever you're doing sales, marketing, which is what this talk is about, you're pushing the benefits, the person you get to become if only you had my product, right? That's what we're talking about. How does that apply to you guys? Does anybody want me to do this for you right now, live, on stage? You tell me your product, I will give you your hero. Anybody? Nobody's brave enough? Go ahead.
So we sell a system that makes trucks more efficient.
Trucks,
Trucks.
like semis?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that it?
That's it. We
That's your
capture the
problem.
exhaust heat and we make the truck more
Are you
efficient.
selling, remember we started with customer. Are you selling directly to truckers? Are you selling to truck manufacturers? Or are you selling
Fleets first. So the
With
fleet
fleets?
managers, yeah.
like the managers of truckers?
Mhm.
Okay. So what does the manager of trucker want to be?
It will shoot fireballs.
No. You're
He
going
wants
to
to make the
be,
fleet more efficient.
exactly, you're going to make so much cash, right? You're going to be rolling around in dough, right? Remember those, you're going to be able to throw money in your own face because of how much money you'll save. Every penny that you save will go into your pocket. Now, that might not be true in the case of the person that's making the purchasing decision. And this is a really important lesson about sales, which we're going to get into in a second. to do good selling, you really have to know not just what their company wants, but what that individual person wants. Does he want a promotion? So what you sell is his promotion. Who's seen those FedEx commercials where the guy comes in and he's like, I've got the great solution, it's FedEx. Great, you get promoted. That's what they're selling. They're selling the promotion, right? The increase in pay you'll get once you're a district manager. You get me?
Mhm.
That's what you're selling. You're going to level up in your career. You're going to go to the next level. This is traditional B2B selling, which that kind of is, by the way, is pushing the fact that you personally are going to level up your career when you buy this thing. So that's what you're going to sell. Does that make sense? Does anybody have a consumer one? Yeah, go ahead.
There was a saying back in the day from Microsoft that said no IT manager ever got fired for recommending Microsoft. It could have been a really lousy product, but it was safe and low risk for the buyers.
Right. Not getting fired is the fireball. Probably IT managers were getting fired often in those days. It is the fire. That is the fireball in that case. Does anyone have a consumer one? Yeah. What do you have?
Build an engine put into his truck.
You sell
more
it.
efficient, cost less.
Yeah.
And cleaner.
Uh-huh.
And more powerful.
Who are you selling to? Who's the customer?
Customer. I mean,
Somebody the manufacturer.
Is it the manufacturer?
Customer or manufacturer or other companies.
Yes. Auto companies and manufacturers. That's B2B still, which is great. Same rule applies. Obviously, they care about the features, but only if you can tell them how it'll make their company more money, which will result in them getting a promotion. And I would start the conversation like this. Hello, engineer. Would you like to be CEO of Peterbilt? Truck manufacturer? I think it might be an imaginary one, I'm not sure.
That's a real one.
Is it real? It's all right.
International.
I remember seeing it in that movie Cars, that's why I was thinking maybe I made it up. Would you like to be CEO of Peterbilt someday? No. Would you like to be head of research? Yeah. Okay. Now you know what their fireball is, and that, my friend, is sales. Now you know their fireball. They don't care about being CEO of Peterbilt. They want to be head of research for all Peterbilt. Well, let me tell you, I can get you there. All I need from you is to evaluate my product, and you will see how that will make you head of research at Peterbilt. You get me? That's sales. Does anybody have a consumer one? Is there no consumer in the room at all?
I mean, I technically have one. It's a esports website.
Okay.
I can talk to you about that a little bit. But,
Yeah.
I think we kind of got ours. We're just trying to basically inform gamers on tournaments and what's happening in their area and things like that.
How you make money? Sponsorships?
Basically sponsorships, hosting events, and subscriptions and stuff. We also have paid content we might get out.
Let's focus on one of the consumer ones. So sponsorships are B2B.
Right.
So yet again, you have to sell to the person that's making the purchase how they're going to be so much better in their job role and therefore get a promotion or something else in order to, if they just did a sponsorship with you.
Yeah, well, I mean, like we're thinking our fireball for our consumers is that they're going to be more informed, they're going to be able to game better, they're going to know more about whatever game they're gaming on, so they can.
And those are benefits. Do you want to be a member, or do you want to be considered as a member of, name your big esports team? Do you want to be in the same class as someone who plays for, name your big esports team? Then you need our stuff, right? Do you want to be talked about in the same vein as somebody who plays for, give me one of them.
I'm not the gamer in the group.
Okay, right, so
but
big esports team. If so, then you need our
Liquid,
stuff,
I think
right? That's the fireball, yeah.
I'd also say along the same lines, risk avoidance can be an
Sure.
aspirational goal as well. So for you guys, it may be, if
Not
you never
really.
want to be out of the loop and always one step ahead of the competition, you know, like the example are those, the masculine products you see at night when they're holding hands, you know. It's the risk avoidance of not being able to do something. And so risk avoidance is aspirational as well.
It is, yeah. Not
it
losing your
is.
job, like in the Microsoft example.
Right.
Yep. Not getting beat constantly.
But it's
Do you want to stop losing? Do you want to stop being a loser? You need to level up with my product today. Okay, we're going to talk about slimy car salesmen in a little bit, but I want to talk about this picture. Who remembers this from Super Bowl 2 years ago? Some of you do. Who does not know what this is about? Very well. Neither do I. But interestingly enough, it's kind of both a bad example and a good example of an integrated marketing campaign. What's happening here is there's a website called GoDaddy. Okay, what GoDaddy is, if you don't know, and you wouldn't know watching this commercial, by the way, is they're a domain name registrar. Remember that $14 I spent to register the domain name in lagnow.org earlier? That $14 went to GoDaddy, and they actually had to pay $7 of those dollars to ICANN, which is a whole other situation. But GoDaddy is a domain name registrar and a hosting platform where you can host your website. I sound like a commercial. Well, that's because I've clicked on this so many times wanting to see the end of this. Because what they did is they had a TV commercial during the Super Bowl where this nerdy guy who's never kissed a girl was going to get to kiss the supermodel. And they're leaning in. Beep, black screen, go to GoDaddy.com to see the rest. It was awesome. It was brilliant. In fact, GoDaddy has become, because of these many commercials they've done, by the way, that's Danica Patrick, of which they're a sponsor, and she does crazy stuff as well. She's like about to take her shirt off. Beep! To see the rest of this, go to GoDaddy.com. Now, who are they targeting?
Dudes.
Dudes, absolutely dudes. Specifically IT managers or dudes who want to build websites almost exclusively. Not really.
NASCAR fans.
Huh?
NASCAR fans.
Potentially, but dudes. Because they're watching NASCAR, they're watching whatever, they're watching Super Bowl. And that's what they're watching. They're very targeted. See how they're targeted? They're in the Super Bowl commercial. They're on the NASCAR. They're very male targeted. And other reasons. We won't get into those. But in general, the issue is they've created an integrated campaign that creates mystery. You want to find out what happens. You click through, and by the way, that's when they tell you about GoDaddy being able to be your web hosting platform. Not on the TV, but only after you've clicked through. Meanwhile, click here to see the rest of the video. And they give you the rest of the video, and it's always PG, by the way. So just to spare you the time, it's always PG. So, this is the idea, synergize the message. Everything within marketing works together to create the experience. So the PR has to match the reality. In other words, you can't just be all hype. Advertising matches the offer. The product matches the promised value. So if you promise this value, and therefore you charge this price, your real value better not be down here, or that's when you get customers complaining and returning and bad things happening. So you don't want to overpromise with what you're doing. All right. I have to put a Coke and New Coke example in because I'm required to by the marketing department at the University of Texas, who worked on this campaign. But anyway, New Coke may not have worked. So you all know the story of New Coke, right? Coke introduced a new formula because they were losing Pepsi taste tests. So they thought, well, we'll make our Coke taste more like Pepsi, and therefore have a better product. They got a bit of a revolt as a result. People were just a tad bit. And interestingly enough, within months after they New Coke, they reintroduced Coca-Cola Classic, which was a huge, dramatic success. Original taste. Some people argue that was intentional. Some people will say it was a mistake, well recovered. Either way, the point of this is to understand the lifetime value of a customer. Remembering that a sale could be multiple sales. Especially if you're B2B, right? Which is why this value equation is so important, and you don't want to overprice above your value. Because this sale today is likely to lead to another sale in the future. For Coca-Cola, that's absolutely true. They had such loyalty with their brand that when they shifted, people were revolting, and their sales were tanking. They were very smart and recovered, potentially, or they were very smart and did the whole thing. But either way, they understood that the lifetime value of a Coca-Cola customer is super, super high and super important to keep them loyal. Hence, they brought back the classic. All right. I'm not to the end. I'm going to get into the sales next, but just to recap the steps. Step 1, be proactive about marketing. Build it into your product. Step 2, begin with the customer in mind. If you don't know who your customer is, you're already failing as a startup. You need to fix that today. I know all of you already got this figured out. If not, come talk to me. I'll help you. Step 3, do important marketing first. That means analytics. And if you don't know if it's important or not, you need to figure out a way to measure it. Or you're wasting your time, you're wasting your energy. You've got to figure out how to measure it. Step 3, offer win-win value. The price has to be somewhere in the zone. Step 5, understand the customer's needs. Remember the fireballs. Okay? Step 6, synergize the message. It all has to work together. And step 7, sharpen the marketing saw. That's about creating value for the long term and not just for today, because you're just going to be shooting yourself in the foot in the future. 2 books to recommend: 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which incidentally matches up with these 7 steps. And I got that trick from Tracy, by the way. Dr. Seeger. He's brilliant. We have the same favorite book. Dr. Seeger and I. Although he hated my guts for some reason. Probably because I was a loud mouth. Other book, Traction.
I'm not helping.
Have you guys, huh?
Yes, I can't help it.
I know. We don't necessarily see eye to eye politically either. But Traction. Traction. Who's heard of this book, Traction, by the way? You have? Anyone? You have too? Did you like it?
Yeah.
All right, so what it is, who's heard of the book Lean Startup? Hopefully Jay has. You better have. I teach a class called Lean Startup at UT, and we use the book. This is the companion book that is Lean Marketing. So if you want to figure out how to do marketing for free, this is the book for you. It takes you through all kinds of techniques to do that. It's a really great book, so I highly recommend it. Neither of which I get a royalty for, unless you click my Amazon link. Just kidding. Logo. All right. So I often get the question, and y'all aren't asking it today, and that's great. What about my logo? What about my box design? What about social media marketing and other stuff? And let me just tell you now, all of that other stuff doesn't really matter if your product is wrong, if your customer isn't right. There's no point to talking about a logo if your product doesn't have value and you don't know who your customer is. That's why I focus so hard on those things. Because you can have the best social media marketing technique ever. I'm going to give it to you in a minute because it's what it's about. And still completely fail because your product doesn't deliver on the value or you're targeting the wrong customer. So that's really important. You can get a logo very cheaply online. There are logo creation services, and they've served just fine. It really doesn't matter because startups aren't really about brand in the early days. So a lot of these things regarding logo and social and design and other things are about brand. So the difference between brand and customer acquisition is dramatic. So who can tell me the difference between brand and customer acquisition? Anybody? Nobody knows the difference? Take a guess. Yell it out. What's brand?
What people think about your company.
Yeah, what people think about your company. Very good. That's brand. What's customer acquisition?
How do you get customers?
See how they're very different? Some people think they're the same thing. Some professors at UT think they're the same thing. But they're not. Customer acquisition is very strategic, whereas brand is more forward-thinking and long-term. Okay, Johnson & Johnson cares about Tide. Does that make sense? But nobody else does. We care about clean clothes. Does that make sense? Now, brand loyalty happens over time. If your grandma used Tide and your mom used Tide and your great-grandma and your great-grandma, and they all use Tide, and you've just been using Tide forever and you really believe in Tide, you are brand loyal, like Coke. But that takes decades and generations, and startups are bought by then, hopefully. All of you have been acquired by the time brand matters very much, at least for you to invest time and energy into it. Packaging is a little different because that's part of the product. So who here has had an Apple product before? Everyone has? Is it not awesome to get an Apple product and open it up? Who here has had a Razer product? You know Razer? You have? You know Razer? R-A-Z-E-R? They have really great packaging, do they not? They make mouses and keyboards, and their packaging is just, it's like a felt box. And they open it up and like, the smell of roses comes out of the box. And it's a freaking mouse. and then you pick it up and it vibrates, and it's like, what just happened? And it turns because it's the death adder mouse, and they just put a little battery in it just to give you a little shake when you open the box. I'm not making this stuff up. This is real. Why do they do that? It's part of branding. They want you to remember how awesome of an experience you had so that they can be remarkable. Why do they want to be remarkable? So that you'll remark and you'll get that word of mouth marketing going. Does that make sense? So packaging can be part of your remarkability of your product. Razer and Apple are two good examples of that. But what is free marketing? It's free! So who here has $10,000 to spend on marketing? Nobody's raising your hand. Therefore, you shouldn't be spending money on marketing at all. Because unless you have $10,000, you're probably not going to get a whole lot back. There's some exceptions to that. We're not going into the details. But in general, who would rather get marketing for free? Free gift. Right here. Come and take it. Well, free marketing is kind of BS because what you're going to find out in the next 3 slides and 10 minutes from which I will be showing this is that free marketing is actually earned marketing. Earned. So free or earned. What the heck am I talking about? So can anybody give me an example of free marketing? Facebook. Facebook is free.
Word of mouth.
Word of mouth is free. Anything else?
Press.
Press is free. Anything else? I like these examples. They are all examples of earned marketing and not free. Facebook is not free. No one's going to post on Facebook unless you are remarkable, of which you had to put effort into the product to become remarkable. Or you had to write a story that someone was interested in enough to share and therefore get to their friends. Does that make sense? That's what earned means. Press is definitely not free. You've got to earn their attention, which is damn hard. Very hard to earn the attention of the press. They're not just going to write a story about you because you look good. Well, maybe if you look really good, but you earned that too. Get me? Press is not free. And word of mouth is also not free. You had to put effort into your product to make it remarkable so that people would remark upon it, thereby getting word of mouth. And by the way, product could include service, and it could include the service experience. How great customer service you had. I'm a TripAdvisor Platinum whatever because I love writing reviews about places. And my reviews are almost 100% binary. It's either this is a hellhole, avoid it at all costs, please. Or it's this is the greatest place on earth, come here, and it's usually because of the service that I got. Recently I was in Roswell, New Mexico, which I freaking loved. The UFO museum is small, but the service was great. Their air conditioning was great. Their bathrooms are super clean. So if you read my TripAdvisor review, which is now number one for the UFO museum, it says the headline is super nice because they were super nice people. Clean bathrooms, awesome air conditioning. Which if you've been to Roswell, you know it's really important. I mean that place is piped with air. And the exhibits are nice too. I put that at the end. 5 stars. People love it. It's all about the service experience. So if you're a service business, you got to remember it's more than just the service. It's the clean bathrooms too. It matters. Anyway, I remarked on it because it was remarkable. Yeah.
Was that skewed at all because you were visiting family in the UFO exhibit? It was too easy. You gave me too many easy ones.
Yeah, my cousins were there too. One's green and one's purple, but
Sorry, I couldn't help.
I'm a bit of a nerd. It's true. And as a nerd, I enjoyed the UFO concept and that whole. I enjoyed the exhibits too. So I mean, it was great. Same thing with the hotel in Roswell. Same thing with the restaurants in Roswell. For some reason, people in Roswell are super nice. It's like
They're
they've been
programmed that way.
Yes, exactly. But I mean, you can read my TripAdvisors. I'm really serious. It was great service, and I wrote about it like crazy. And now I'll contrast that with just a little ways up the road, Albuquerque, where I was at.
Did you make a left turn?
I was taking. I liked to go the path less traveled.
Bugs Bunny did.
I was in Albuquerque, Albuquerque, New Mexico. Horrible service. We checked in at 1 a.m. We had to bang on the door to get the hotel to open up the door. Okay, we finally got in. My kids are screaming and crying because they're exhausted after a day of hiking, Bryce Canyon, whatever. And we've been driving all day. So then we finally get to our room. We go to sleep. 7 a.m. the phone rings. It's a wake-up call that we didn't schedule. All right. I'm just having fun now, talking for you. But I want you to understand this importance of service. So, okay, fine. We finally get to sleep. 8 a.m. Maid service, 8 freaking a.m. And I checked in at 1. I just couldn't believe how bad that was. So, of course, I called down. I said, well, we're up now. Do you guys have breakfast down there? Oh, yes, we have breakfast, sir. Oh, but it's not included. Okay, no, it's no problem. How much is it? Oh, we don't know. You have to come down and find out. I can't make this stuff up. You can read my TripAdvisor report about it. I said, well, okay, whatever. I just hung up. A few minutes later, showers are cold only. I mean, this is all in the same hotel. And by the way, it's not a cheap hotel. This was at the Sheraton, Starwood Company. So I mean, you think Sheraton, I think they have a good brand now. I don't. I will not stay at one ever again as a result of this experience. And that's the point. I will not stay at a Sheraton again in my life because of this bad service. My wife calls down, the shower's not working. Oh, well, we're sorry. Well, can you do anything? No. Yeah.
The Starwood Elite members were at 26 times the average stay at Sheraton.
That's interesting because they get a better service, don't they?
And once you get it at 26 times, more revenue.
Very interesting. Well, I'll never get it because of how shitty the non.
You don't pull punches, dude. Staff extremely rude, no breakfast buffet, Wi-Fi costs extra, parking lot tiny and full. I'm asked for a wake-up call 7 a.m., maids knocking on door at 8 a.m. Horrible location, unsafe, do not stay here. But he goes on. The reception desk said, I don't know to every question. Only positives, comfy queen beds, not worth the rudeness.
Thank you. That was my review, actually. Word for word. So, just want to point out highlight this point. Service matters. It's part of your product. It's dramatically important for all future customers, especially with social media and the prevalence of this stuff. A bad service experience could destroy your company. It's better to give the refund. Take it from someone who has learned. Better to give the refund and say, I'm so sorry. Please have 10 free stays. Something. Anything is better than that. You know how many people are not going to go to that hotel because of that review?
Right on the front page, man.
Tons of people are going to not go to that hotel because of that.
Did they ever contact you back?
No, nothing. Never.
Really?
Nope. I mean, horrific. Okay. So here are some types of earned marketing. Most of them have been said already. We didn't talk about SEO, which, if you don't know the term, it's important to learn it now because it is here to stay. Search engine optimization is the game of getting on the first page, of which I apparently succeeded. Okay, it's the game of getting on the first page, specifically of search engines, specifically Google, because they're the number one search engine. So,
Wow.
Sorry?
How to get to the first page?
Okay, here, I'm going to tell you right now. How do you get to the first page? The answer is be remarkable. Deliver value. And ideally, for the most narrow thing you can possibly think of for your application. So in your example, I might write an article about the inefficiencies of truck engines. And if you want to go the clean angle, you can put that into it. And that thing to think about is, what are people searching for? Someone might search, I can imagine there's a group of people who might search, how much greenhouse gases are given off by trucks each year? You need to have an article on that.
We have many articles already. We have many speeches already, and still don't get to the first page.
So there's a number of other tricks you have to do to play the Google game.
Taglines.
You got to have the taglines. You got to have the keywords. You might want to spend a few dollars. Not that Google would ever admit to this, but in fact, no agency ever has admitted this to me. Although every time I've done it, it always works. Even just spending $10 on Google AdWords for the content that you think is most important. And this is a dirty, dark secret, but it's true. Will lead to huge improvements in your organic SEO traffic. And I know it sounds really bad and dirty, and guess what it is? But it's just a fact. I mean, I'm sorry. We should do a research study on this. It just always works. I don't even spend that much money, but suddenly my organics are going shh. It's like, what happened? I spent like $3. Why do they do that, David? Tell me. Okay.
Have you found an improvement by using Google Sites? Because I bought my domain through Google, for example.
Oh, that helps too?
Does it? I don't know.
I have not found that. No, you have to spend
Thing-
money with Ad Team.
The thing about Google is one of their rankings is authority.
That's right.
And so if you've got a domain that's registered from a high quality site, it's going to increase your authority. If you've got paid traffic coming to you as well as earned traffic, it's going to increase your authority. They keep changing the algorithms, so you can't game it. But those are kind of like known things.
Yep.
They're just like they're known things. So you don't know what's behind it, but anything you can do that drives traffic to your site, that's what we call high quality. It's gonna, and you also will get a quality score as well. But that will have more to do with on your page. Do you have missing tags? By the way, you can go look at websitegrader.com if you have a website. It's free. It's done by HubSpot, and they'll give you an SEO report of where you're missing alt tags, alt image tags, and things like that. And just addressing that will increase some of your organic because your rankings will go up and your quality will go up.
And if you can get people commenting and sharing that, even better. So remember we said integrated marketing campaigns? So your piece of content needs to get shared on Twitter. You need to, here's another little really free cheap trick. I'm going to give you all the cheap tricks. If there's a conference going on, even if you're not there, tweet at that conference with a link to your article that's related to it. It works, doesn't it? It works really well, so use that free cheap trick, because that's what this is all about. Yeah.
Are there updated metrics on click-through rates for the first, second, third, fourth, fifth links on Google?
The latest I've seen was something like 78% first, 30%, or some of them are super high number, second, and everything else is below 1%. So it's ridiculously high, 1 and 2, and then very low on the rest.
I think the other thing you said that was important. One of the things that's true is first page above the fold, critical spot.
Oh, yeah.
Organic. But I'll have lots of people say, I see this all the time. People come up and go, "Oh my God, we're doing great. We're ranked really high." We come up 1 or 2, and you go, "Oh, let me see your search term." And the search term was the name of their company, or a very specific thing about their product name. That's not really organic search.
No, you want it to be about the problem you're solving. That's ideally what you want your search term, because you want to catch the right customers. And yeah, exactly. All right, we could do like hours on SEO. It's not really the point, but yes, you're on the right path. The fact that you understand what it means you're going to get there. You just got to keep grinding away. You'll get there. Public relations. So don't hire a PR agency. That's the first rule of thumb. The only reason to have a PR agency, if you have so many calls from press that you simply can't keep up with the volume, hire a PR agency to help you sort through it. But my suspicion is no one here has that. I actually had it at one time and hired a PR agency purposely to help me find the ones I should be talking to and the ones I shouldn't. And that was worthwhile. But you don't have that problem. And until you do, you don't need a PR agency. You need a good story. That's what you need. And I will tell you that I have not found a PR agency that will help you create a good story. For that, you need a writer. Interestingly enough. Getting a writer, someone from the English department to help you out with a story about you or your company, some interest piece. Then you yourself can simply email it to all the different media that know you. And if it's written well, you might get a story written about you. The other thing about PR is these writers, they go to trade shows. So remember I was going to tell you about how to do trade shows for free? Here's one of the things you can do. Attend, then go on Twitter and find out which writers are there, and then tweet them, "Hey, can I meet you for coffee? Can I buy you coffee? Can I buy you breakfast? Can I buy you dinner? Can I buy you drinks?" And these writers will do it, and then you'll get a story. Pretty cheap. And by the way, you don't even have to be at the conference. You're going to buy them coffee, breakfast, lunch, or a drink off-site. So you're not at the conference yourself. You're just in the area, Austin, Texas, of which we have South by Southwest, which you should not attend, but you should hover around. Unless you get in for free. So hover around it, tweet at the writers who are at South by, which means all of them, that are in your industry, and say, "Hey, can I buy you coffee? I'm at the conference, can I buy you whatever?" And it's kind of like dating. You'll get 9, ignores. You'll get 10 no's, and then you'll get 1 yes. So you have to do 20, and you're going to get, if you do 40, you'll get 2 articles. which is pretty cool. Gorilla is similar. So, look, there's a gorilla in the room. That's what guerrilla marketing is, or forum, or Reddit, or whatever. So Reddit is actually underutilized. Who here does not know Reddit? Everybody knows it. Okay, great. So you don't know it. You need to learn it.
Yeah, I don't know it.
You need to get on it. It's totally nerdy. You'd like it. I'm not saying you're nerdy. I'm saying your customers are nerdy. So they have a whole huge aerospace section in Reddit. So you need to be on it.
Do you have a way to like get in touch with moderators? Because I email them all the time to try to get posts and stuff, like surveys and stuff put up there, because it's against the rules.
Yeah, the
but
best way to
you can
do it is
if
to make the
you
post anyway.
See, but I've done that. They just take them down, and then I'm like, hey man.
They don't message you?
Well, they do. They just say, hey, here's the reason why we took it down, but they never respond when I
Oh,
say,
okay.
hey man, look, I'm trying to get some information here. It's for
Right.
school or it's for a startup or whatever.
So for guerrilla marketing, you've got to be a little bit more subtle, first of all. So you can't just go out and like go into a forum or a Reddit and be like, look at my stuff, come click and buy my thing. Obviously, that's going to get taken down by
it's more like we're trying to build a website
Yeah,
for this,
but
and
it's
we need
self-serving.
some, like,
So the trick is to make it non-self-serving, right? So instead of doing a survey and asking people to do the survey, it's just create a piece of content that answers a question that comes up on the Reddit all the time. Then when someone asks the question, because they always do, provide your answer with a link to the article that you wrote that talks about that thing, and then put the survey in the article. So it's one step removed, but it totally works, and the ops won't remove it. And that's true for almost all the forums, especially if you have if you've responded ever. So even if you've just done a couple of responses, 2 or 3 over the last month, then when you post your Whammo one, it'll work. And that's the way to do it. Responding to someone else's post with an answer to your content that has your survey in it.
that's a great idea, and I'll do that. But what pisses me off is that I go on Reddit and I'll see other people's surveys on there.
Right.
I'm like, what?
Yeah.
How did you get in touch with the
I know.
moderator? That doesn't make any sense.
I can't help with that one. I have no inside trick there.
All right, yeah.
Well, it's to catch everybody up to this, and because I've allocated myself only 5 more minutes to cover all free marketing. So, everybody understand guerrilla marketing? Let me tell you the other one. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
One other thing about guerrilla marketing, and that is actually putting on a gorilla suit. So guerrilla marketing originally came out with the idea of somebody putting on a gorilla suit, putting on a sign, and running through a conference with their information on the sign, because that's going to get people's eyes. What the heck? And then you see it. So whether it's a real gorilla suit or a virtual one, I'll tell you the one that I did but got nixed down by my legal department, which was I put on suit armor and I rode my horse, and I was handing out business cards from horseback. Legal shot me down after the first time.
But we're in Texas.
Well, it was more of a litigation issue. Yeah.
So there's another form of guerrilla marketing that's used by a lot of startups, and it's the GUERILLA, and it's when you, it's basically comes out of like guerrilla warfare, where you jump on top of other people's marketing. So for example, when we launched Motion Computing, which was a tablet PC company, Microsoft said they were not going to allow any of the OEM partners to be in their launch events around the world because they wanted to keep it even. So we hired mimes to come out and stand up front of the venues with our tablets and actually take pictures and mime, and do things. And people didn't know what the mimes were for. And at the end of it, we did a printout, and they got their sketches from the mime and their picture with information about motion computing. It basically cost us a few $100s in every city to do it, and Microsoft was totally pissed off. But they couldn't do anything because it was outside, but they brought all the customers there. That's a form of guerrilla marketing.
I love it.
So if you're competing, it's finding where the big guys are going and finding ways to actually get there cheaply. And
That's right. And this comes back to me getting arrested a few times.
Yeah, I usually sent my employees out.
Of course you did. You didn't do the ticket. I was out there in the suit.
Yeah.
And because there is a chance that you will be asked to leave, and my experience is you won't get arrested if you leave, because they're going to ask you first. But if you're belligerent, then they're going to call the police, and then you're going to go like this. All right. So conversation, engagement, trade shows, virality, which we talked about with Farmville, word of mouth. Those are free. All right. We're going to switch to sales. Time check. How am I doing?
We got about an hour.
Okay. All right. So we're going to switch to sales and focus deeply on sales. So first thing about sales is to know your sales plan. So you got to have a plan for sales. So whether you're B2B or B2C, you've got to understand where are customers going to buy your stuff, keeping it PG. Where are they going to buy your stuff, and how and who is going to be interacting with it. We'll give you a couple of possibilities. First of all, they might buy it at a store, right? Who's heard of Fry's Electronics? Everybody? They're one of my number one places where I sell stuff because I know the buyer for the gaming and computer department. I just call him up and say, I've got something new. He puts it in for me. That's my sale is actually me talking to the buyer at Fry's. It has nothing to do with end consumers. Getting it on the shelf. So, got to know the whole sales channel. It might be that you're trying to target aerospace engineers. It might be you're trying to target hospital administrators. It all comes back to having the target customer and how are you going to reach them? So how are you going to reach hospital administrators? Well, one might be direct sales. That would be you picking up the phone and or your sales team picking up the phone and calling people. That's direct sales. Or going to people or meeting people. That's direct. It might be indirect sales where you're going to work with a distributor who already talks to all the hospital administrators, and all you have to do is get into the distributor. It's sort of like the Fry's example. But you've got to know your sales plan. You've got to have a sales plan. And that's sort of the first step. Once you have that first step, the next part is about qualifying leads. You've got to figure out, has anyone seen Glenn Ross, the movie? You've got to watch the movie. It's great. It's the best sales movie of all time. But it's all about the leads. Leads, leads, leads. What's a lead? What's a lead?
Avenue to a sale.
Avenue to a sale. It's a business. It's a card with someone's name and a phone number or an email or something. That's a lead. Right? You got to get the leads. How do you get them? Marketing. Go to a trade show. Right? Go on LinkedIn. You got to get the leads first before you can do any sales. Otherwise, you're not going to know who to call or who to talk to or whatever. All right.
You should say you can buy them.
You can.
You will hear people say we sell lead lists. You're buying lists of names. They don't know
That's
you
right.
at all. They don't know anything about you, but they're prospective buyers for your market.
That's true. You can buy them. I don't know much about that, but I know that it's possible. Yeah. So what do startups sell to? They sell to everybody. You're not just selling to customers. You're selling. People forget that sales is also about suppliers, right? So one of my biggest coups at Bigfoot back in the day was getting Freescale to provide us incredible high volume pricing for low volumes. Really important relationship. We were buying chips for $1 that on the market were going for 30. So we were buying in volumes of tens of millions, but we were only selling tens of thousands. And I did that through supplier selling. I sold my supplier on the vision, and that's how I got the deal, right? Partners, potential customers, obviously investors, co-founders, employees. Why do I have to sell employees? Who here is trying to find a co-founder? Nobody? I'm surprised. Maybe? Okay. Oh, I see it all the time. People are trying to find a co-founder because it's way more interesting and usually more successful to have a co-founder than do it by yourself. So selling to a co-founder is hard. I have a guy, this is a true story, I'm working on a startup of my own. I have a guy who's been with me through 4 startups, okay? And we've had 3 exits together. And he's been my CTO in the last 2. And he's made a ton of money with me. And I pitched him 3 weeks ago my startup idea. You know what he said? I don't like it. I don't think it's a good idea. I'm like, does that mean you're not coming? He's like, not yet. I was really surprised. I mean, I wouldn't say he's my best friend, but he's near my best friend. And he's like, nah. I didn't sell him very good. I didn't sell him well enough. I'm trying to sell to get my first employee, my co-founder, my CTO co-founder. And he said no. So you're always selling. And you know what? Thinking back on that conversation, I didn't do it right. I thought I had this great relationship and it was just going to be easy. He was going to just say yes. All I had to do was tell him my idea and he's going to be on board because everything we do turns into something. It doesn't necessarily turn into gold, but it turns into something. So I thought for sure and I didn't approach it right. Before I get into the right approach to sales, let's talk about the wrong approach to sales. So here's a really important poll. Who thinks selling is slimy? Come on, be brave. 1, 2. Selling is slimy. 3, 4. All right. 5. Okay. Thank you for being brave. Appreciate it. Participation. Class participation. Well, personally, I think selling is slimy too, if I'm totally honest. That's why I don't like to sell. It sucks. I hate it. And in fact, when I do sales, I'm not selling, which I'll explain in just a minute, and hopefully you'll all understand. Because here's the thing. If you start to feel slimy about sales, you're going to fail, first of all. And secondly, you're probably right. Most likely, this equation is messed up. Your price is higher than the value. And probably, and I see this all the time, probably there's a dispute between the value. The founder thinks it's this. The salesman thinks it's probably around here. Right? And your price is so close, there's no wiggle room. There's not enough value, and that's what makes you feel slimy, right? Because let me say it differently. Who here would feel slimy about selling somebody health insurance if you knew that next month they were going to desperately need it and it was going to be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars for them? Would you feel slimy about that? They don't have health insurance. They can get it right now, and you know for sure next month they're going to desperately need it. Like hundreds of thousands of dollars for only $1,000 today. You see the value? Is it slimy now? No, you're doing them a service. And that is sales. If you don't believe you're doing them a service, you're not gonna do sales. You shouldn't start. You gotta rethink the value of what you're offering. Because you're just not, it's slimy because the value's not there. I'm selling you a Pinto. That's gonna blow up. I'd feel slimy about that. Right? It's all about the value. And if you don't feel it, then you're not getting there. All right, we talked about direct, indirect, and other things. So let's talk about how do you do sales with direct sales force. You get some leads. You qualify the leads. That means you got to find out, are they the right buyer? Because let me go down this health example again. So in order for me to know whether or not health insurance is important for you, first of all, I need to know, do you have health insurance already? If so, then I'm already kind of in the questionable, slimy area, right? Because now I'm just trying to get you to switch. It's a little slimy. I'm just being myself here. If not, I need to know something about your health, right? Do you smoke? Do you exercise regularly? What's your diet like? Now, if I find out that you smoke, you sit on your butt playing games all day, that's me, and last, you don't exercise and you eat like crap, it's not me, I try to eat healthy, suddenly, health insurance is kind of important for you because probably you're going to have a problem in the next 5 to 10 years, and I feel a lot less slimy about selling you health insurance that you don't have today. It's just kind of a weird example. You could go down this path to anything, to any product or service, right? If you're aerospace, well, how are you manufacturing? Where's your bottleneck today? Oh, your bottleneck isn't in manufacturing. Your bottleneck is actually in sales. You know what? You don't need my product. You don't need my product. You have enough manufacturing capacity to satisfy your sales today. Call me when you have the opposite problem. Because you're not solving a problem. If you can make their airplanes faster, but they can't sell them any faster, is that helping anybody?
That's on what their delivery schedule looks like. Or like
Just say no.
no.
You're not helping anybody. You're trying to sell it too hard. They can't move the airplanes out fast enough. I mean, they don't have enough sales. They have airplanes sitting in the lot doing nothing. Building them faster is actually going to hurt them. It creates more inventory. Got it? See how that makes selling slimy? Now you call Boeing. They got back orders for the next 30 years. You can help them. Legitimately. Does that make sense? Suddenly sales isn't so bad. It's not so slimy anymore. But you've got to qualify those leads. You've got to find out if they have the problem you solve, entering the marketer would be if they knew about your solution. If so, they're qualified. Oh, by the way, can they pay? That's kind of important too. Selling to someone who can't pay, it's like suing someone who's broke. It's just dumb. You're not going to get any money. 3, each call, email, or whatever you do should be about learning about your prospect, trying to qualify them better, their needs. You need to ask questions about their needs. And I'm going to get into this in a little bit more detail. Because remember back to the fireballs? Remember this Super Mario fireballs? If you don't know enough about the customer or prospect to know what they want to be, then talking about fireballs is dumb because they don't want fireballs. They want to be VP of research, not CEO. You know what I'm saying? You got to learn that about. That's how you do sales. Talking about doing sales, that's how you do it. You got to learn about them, not just their company, them as an individual. Most important thing to qualify is: are you in a position to say yes? If not, what do you need? Who needs to get involved? What is the sales cycle like? At the University of Texas, you want to get something sold to the University of Texas, you got to hit their budget cycle, which is annual, which oddly enough ends in May. So by May, budget's done for the next year. So right now, you should be talking to them about next year's budget if you're trying to sell something to UT. But you wouldn't know that unless you talk to somebody who works there like me. I can tell you about our budgeting process, right? That's the discovery part of sales. Each call is a level up, right? You learn something and you get to the next level. Okay, great. Well, let's meet, let's get together, introduce me to your boss, let me help you with your budgeting cycle, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's a level up. And lastly, there's often this question of, all right, when do you ask for the sale? And there's lots of schools of thought on this. I'll give you my school of thought. You can certainly have your own. Let the customer decide to close. That's my school of thought. You don't pressure, you make it subtle. Here's good. As always, if you'd like to order, feel free to call or email. That's great. That to me is asking for a close without demanding a close. Here's bad. Are you ready to place your order now? It's a little, to me, that's beyond strong. And here's worse. Order now or you will lose out. I hate that. I hate that. That's too much pressure in general. Now, there's probably situations where that would make sense, but in general, if you're to that level, I believe that you're probably not in the right place over here. Because if I can't demonstrate to you that the price versus the value is inherently obvious, then I'm a slimy salesman, and I'm selling used cars. Does that make sense? The price is obvious. I don't need the hard close. If you need the hard close, buy now or you're going to lose the special offer. If you have to start saying that BS, you know you're slimy, right? I mean, you're in the slimy territory. You did not create value. And that's what sales is all about, creating the value. Such that a soft close is fine. Look, when you're ready to order, which I know you should be because look, with all the value, it's stupid not to order. It should be stupid not to buy your stuff. You gotta be, look, it's up to you. If you want to be stupid and not order from me, fine. Of course, I wouldn't say it that way. That's not a good sales technique. But I want them to think that. Does that make sense to everybody? We're talking about sales. Yeah.
I'd also say you offering a discount to purchase now is a value, and you can offer that, and you can ask for the sell that way, and it's not as slimy. So,
I can see that.
I mean, you're right because I do. You get.
You better have a reason for it, though.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make my quarters numbers. I'm trying to make my whatever. And for that, if you can order now, I can give you the slightly discount because I'm pushing for my quarter, and they're going to understand that, hopefully. But that delta in price is not going to be that significant in comparison to the value. Otherwise, you're slimy. Does that make sense?
The only exception I would make on your number 2 is that there's many salespeople out there that never ask for the order.
I agree with that.
So they get to a point where they've proven the value, and then nothing else.
Yeah.
So to say, are you ready to place your order now, or something like that, is actually very appropriate.
Yeah.
Not in a slimy way or a forceful way.
Right.
But you have to ask for the order.
I'll agree with that. And I think I should amend the slides to the other one, which is order now. This deal explodes. That's probably the bad. This is kind of like not that bad really. still like this one. When you're ready to order, just let me know. When you're ready to order, let me know. It's still asking for the order, really.
As a salesperson, it's not easy, but it's easy to know about your product and how to prove value to your customer.
Yes.
The hardest thing is to ask for the order, because you feel like, especially if you feel like you're a slimy.
Oh, especially if you're feeling slimy.
But like I said, there are many, many people who are great at talking about their product
And never ask.
and never asking them.
Well, you do have to let them know how they can place an order at least at some point in the conversation. And the worst thing, here's another pet peeve, and I'd probably write a really bad TripAdvisor if I saw this. Someone doesn't tell me the price. That makes me very angry. If I don't know the price of our first meeting, I'm gonna be mad. I'm gonna be. I'll probably not call you.
I think it's interesting. I'm from the old school. I was with Dell long before they even had internet sales. But even when you go to the internet sales, today you go on the internet to buy something, and you don't. And there are so many bad websites.
Yeah.
In terms of trying to find the price, trying to understand how to order, you just get so flustered. You just go to the next one. It's so very easy.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's why it's so important to get the price. People understand what they're getting. Now we're talking about things that aren't just off-the-shelf computers. We're talking about things that are revolutionary. So theoretically, there's so much value and so little competition. The price is what you say it is, in a way. It's not like I can go find a better robot, right? Maybe I can, but not nearly as good. Whatever. Okay, let's move on because I've got. I think I'm going to skip this part about websites and landing pages. I'll talk about the SPI in selling technique. I wrote an article about it. It comes from a book, SPI in. Neil Rackman has written this book called Spin Selling. It's a great book. I like it because it uses the word spin, which immediately feels slimy to me. But then when you read the book, it's actually telling you how not to be slimy in sales. And it's an acronym. S stands for situation questions, P stands for problem questions, I stands for implication questions, and N stands for need payoff questions. And I think it's a useful framework for sales that I wish more people would learn and use, because first of all, it focuses on questions, which I think is really important to qualify the lead, get them to understand their situation, figure out what a fireball is to them, right? So you ask about their situation, you ask about what problems do they have. Do you have, in specific, make sure you always ask, do you have the problem that I solve? Really important question. If not, you didn't qualify them for your problem. You mean you do not have a manufacturing problem? You can build all the airplanes that you need right now? You have no issues with capacity? Okay, well then my solution may not make sense for you. That so shockingly, and this is a true story, will cause people to want to do business with you. Because, holy crap, a salesperson who doesn't want to just sell me blindly, who actually cares about what I need, they may buy a robot anyway. It happens all the time. Tons of stories in this book about that specific situation that are real stories, not mine. Implication questions. If you could just be unconstrained, could you sell a lot more airplanes? If you had this new technology, could people be healthier faster? Could you save money through whatever your technology does? Could you become a better gamer? If you had this information, could you become a better gamer? Now, you're not going to do direct sales with your website, but just talking about this. Then need payoff. How much money would you save or earn if you had this solution? Now you kind of construct through questions, through Socratic method, you've qualified the lead, you've gotten them to tell you the value. So this need payoff component is you want them to tell you what this is, ideally. Because for each customer it's going to be slightly different. Hopefully it'll be within a range, right? For Boeing it's probably way higher. For one of the smaller Cessna or whatever, it's probably a little lower. I don't know for sure. But all of it's above your price point, but you've just established the value from their point of view. And that's what need payoff is about. Now that they have that, when you tell them the price and it's lower than the value, here's where you can place your order.
Yeah.
Here's the form if you'd like to submit an order. Or how can I help get through your budgeting process? That's another great way to close. How can I help you get through your budgeting process to make this happen for next year? Because hopefully you've already learned about their budgeting process and their buying cycles, which could be years, could be 2 or 3 years. Working with the city of Austin, it's a 2-year budgeting cycle. Working with the state, I think it's longer. I don't know for sure. So, how can I help you get through your budgeting process? What do we need to do next to get? That's a level up. What do we need to do next to get this onto the schedule to be evaluated to add it to the budget? Sort of like, now you got to help them make the purchase. Does that make sense? Is everybody following? SPIN. It's a great book, and I've written up something nice about it. All right, I've got some backup slides, but in general, that's it for the sales and marketing. I wish I could tell you how to do sales better, but the reality is, it should be easy to do sales as long as this equation you started with matches up, and you're honest and direct with people. You're gonna have success. Any questions before I leave the stage? Yes.
I have a real or imaginary case for you.
Okay.
VW has the problem with their emission, and they are going to pay at least $10 billion for fine. And their need is to build customer confidence in their technology, in their product.
Yes.
Our product can solve their problem.
Yes.
To rebuild that. That means they shouldn't do business usual. They should change their direction and say, hey, we have this full product. It saves your money, can solve the emission problem, and more powerful and more efficient. So how do we penetrate that VW leadership?
I'm gonna go back to the top. You gotta get some leads. And if you don't have leads, you gotta figure out a way to get leads, right? You need to find the people at VW who, at any level, just to get started. It could be an engineer, it could be a marketing director, it could be a PR manager. You gotta get in the door and then use that door to get to more leads and navigate the organization to find decision makers. So I probably should add the slide that I've got. I'll do this maybe in the future iteration of this presentation about the different types of people in an organization. Some people are sort of decision makers, some people are influencers, and some people are champions. And this, I didn't invent this, but it's a way of looking at an organization and trying to find the leads within an organization, because VW employs probably 100,000 people, so you just can't kind of talk to any schmo. Although any schmo can get you to the next schmo. To eventually you got to somebody who becomes a champion, and then someone who's an influencer, and then someone who's a decision maker. And that's the flow you got to get through. You got to get a champion, then an influencer, then get the decision makers.
Heyo.
Yes?
No, your fingers. You're just. Never mind.
Oh, was I?
Yeah, you're just looking at everybody else.
That's all right. It's PG. Yeah.
Just on that, because this group, a lot of students who have entrepreneurial projects are building for the consumer market, and so a lot of the sort of selling paradigms are consumer focused. Most of you guys are, as you talked about earlier on, are focused on business selling.
Yeah.
And you've talked about both these things. I want to emphasize them. What you just talked about. If you're selling to a company, you're not selling to a company. You're selling to people inside the company.
Yes.
Right? So there's going to be a guy or a girl at IBM who makes the decision to buy your product, not IBM. Even though we talk about IBM, by the way, this is true for fundraising as well. You talk about Kleiner Perkins as the investor. It's not. It's the partner at Kleiner Perkins who's your advocate, who's really making the decision. So even though you're in a business-to-business environment selling robot actuators or whatever else you're selling, you're still selling to people, and that's really important. And the second thing, and you mentioned this as well, sales cycle. So if you're selling to a consumer on the internet, that's great. Your sales cycle is you build it, you put it up, I click a button, and there's fulfillment. You guys, if you're selling to IBM or the University of Texas or anyone else, the sales cycle itself can be really long. And in fact, the time from a decision to place an order to when you get your check can be really, really long. A common place that companies at your stage of development fall over when they're in business to business, especially big, complicated sales, is they don't budget enough time for selling, right? Yeah, you can build it, and then a miracle occurs, and you get money because somebody's using it. You really need to build time in to make that sale. And it takes a lot more time usually than you think it's going to take. So budgeting in, if you're doing something like robot actuators, budgeting in a year for the sales cycle and then another year to close the sale probably isn't actually too big. Or get paid after close sale isn't probably too much time. So think about that as well.
I agree with all those things, and one other thing about consumer, because I'm more of a consumer specialist, a lot of people forget that consumer is almost always also a B2B sale. And so for me, I was selling to the fries buyer, first and foremost. We had direct sales, but it's minuscule compared to getting the fries, then Best Buy, then Dell, right? And then we got standard on all Dell computers. Like, whoa, that's when we got acquired. That's what it took. So, I guess my point is, each of those were actually a B2B sale, even though we were a consumer product.
So my background's almost exactly opposite his. It's been totally B2B. And I'll answer your Toyota another way. I think what Harlan was talking about, I think you do need to have that chart. In a business to business, the purchasers are not frequent, the buyer is not frequently the user, or even a person that cares about the purchase at all. One of the reasons why CRMs are so important, customer resource managers like Salesforce, is not as a contact manager. Inside Toyota, you may need to talk to 50 people to get the sale, and you need to know what every one of their hot buttons are. So, for example, for me, if we sold to healthcare, the buyer, the purchasing agent for the hospital, didn't really care what the doctors needed, didn't really care what IT wanted from EMR. What they wanted to know was that we had all the regulatory approvals, that we had the right financials behind us, and that we had good warranty programs. And we needed to talk to them very differently than the doctors, who didn't care about any of that. What they wanted to know was it
fast?
Was it fast to run their application, and and was it easy to use? And actually, most of them want to know if they could watch movies on it, the doctors. But the chief medical officers wanted to know that they were secure from bloodborne pathogens. They were sealed. You can't do that in your head. So even if you have one customer, having a CRM where you're tracking what they care about and building those relationships. And when he talked about, earned media and earned relationships, if you know that the buyer cares, or let's say the chief medical officer cares about bloodborne pathogens, you could be sending them articles on technology and bloodborne pathogens. In your case, you could be hitting all those people at Toyota with different pieces of content that you've learned that they care about to build that relationship. And so B2B selling is about selling across that category he talks about and getting them. What happens when they get together, they go, hey, did you hear about Motion? Oh yeah, I've been talking to those guys, I love them. Why aren't we talking to Motion? That's kind of how you have to do that. So that is a big difference from selling to consumer, where you're trying to give a value proposition,
right?
And narrow the number of decision makers. In a B2B situation, you actually want to have as many of them covered as you can and track them and manage them.
Yeah, and I just wanted to draw that out for you. CID, champion, influencer, decision maker. Those are the three categories for B2B sales that are traditionally talked about. Ideally, you get a champion that introduces you to influencers, that introduces you to decision maker. It's usually multiple, almost always a committee, almost always a budget involved. CIO is going to get involved. Chief accounting officer, CFO, depending on the size of your deal. So, and then understand these folks will help you through SPIN, asking questions, will help you identify the sales cycle. And a sales cycle will be different for every company that you interact with. There'll be trends, right? Typically for cities, it's a couple of years. Typically for universities, it's yearly. But beside the trends, there'll be variation. So each company is different. That's why the SPIN technique focuses on asking the questions and really understanding the customer, and most importantly, so that you're not selling slimy, validating by them that the value is there and it's well above your price. That's how you get over the slimy.
Do you have any rules of thumb regarding multiples, like the value for industrial equipment,
like value versus price?
Yeah, the price to value
Okay.
kind of ratio.
Yes.
Along those lines.
Here's a rule of thumb: don't ever do that.
Okay.
Start with this value, then set this somewhere. I like putting it in the middle, but wherever. As soon as you start talking about multiples, you immediately start thinking cost basis, and that's the trap. Cost does not matter.
No, not related to cost, but related to the value to the price.
Correct. Yeah, I'd say around in the middle would be good, because then what's neat about that is you can with a straight face say, look, There's a lot of value here. We're going to put it right in the middle, between cost and value. By the way, and this isn't zero. The midpoint is between cost and value.
And when you value like industrial equipment, would you do like net present value calculations?
Yeah, you can do it. You can do that.
NPV.
NPV would be great. That'd be a complicated way to do it, but would work.
When I was trying to validate price, I knew what some of the competitor tools were, and I said, for $100,000, how much value do you need those tools to deliver to you?
Yeah.
And I was surprised they frequently said $120,000 of value,
Right.
or $50,000 of value.
It's true.
I was expecting multiples, and it wasn't anywhere near that.
Right.
Which let me push price differently.
Yeah, I mean, typically when I've sold this kind of stuff, you figure out they have like 2-year, payback period, and then that's like the maximum price essentially. And then they'll use it for 10 years, but they'll get their payback in 24 months or something like that.
Your math is something easier than many others, right? A robot that cleans my floor. How do I value that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I'm having a hard time integrating like ergonomic savings. Like, how many carpal tunnels instances will I save? That data isn't super easy.
It may not matter to them depending on the buyer.
Benefits for that, or
Yeah,
Okay. Any other questions? Anybody has any specific questions for your own companies that I can answer? No? All right. That's it then.